The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was huge. It could hold 10,000 beings from across the galaxy. Today, like every day for the past 300 years, it was full. Creatures of all shapes and sizes sat in their special seats. Some looked like giant birds with metal feathers. Others were made of crystal that sang when they moved. There were beings made of gas that floated in glass containers. And there were things that looked like trees but could think and talk. In the smallest section of the hall sat the humans. There were only 12 of them. They looked tiny compared to the other aliens around them. Their leader was Ambassador Sarah Chun. She was 55 years old and had gray hair. Her face showed no emotion as she listened to the speech being given. The speaker was High Chancellor Vexstar of the Zephyrian Empire. He was 12 feet tall and looked like a giant lizard covered in blue scales. His voice boomed across the hall as he spoke about human beings. The human species has again asked to become full members of our great council, Vexstar said. His voice was full of pride and arrogance. Once again, we must say no. Humans are too young. They have only been in space for 300 years. We have been traveling the stars for thousands of years. The other aliens in the hall made sounds of agreement. The crystal beings chimed like bells. The gas creatures changed colors to show they were happy. The tree-like aliens rustled their leaves. Vexstar continued his speech. Humans are also too violent. They fight wars among themselves. They cannot control their emotions. They are not ready for the wisdom needed to guide the galaxy. Sarah Chun sat perfectly still. Her hands were folded in her lap. She had heard these same words many times before. Next to her sat Lieutenant Marcus Webb. He was young and angry. His hands were clenched into fists. But, Vexstar went on, humans are useful. They work hard. They can survive in places that would kill other species. They are good at fighting our enemies. We will continue to use their services, but they cannot be equals, not yet. Maybe in a few hundred more years. The hall erupted in more sounds of agreement. Sarah looked around at all the alien faces. She saw smugness and superiority in their expressions. These beings thought they were better than humans. They had always thought that, for 300 years, humans had served the Galactic Council. They had done the dangerous jobs that other species would not do. Human miners worked on planets with poisonous air. Human soldiers fought on the edge of space against terrible monsters. Human scientists made discoveries that helped everyone. Human doctors saved alien lives, but when it came time to make decisions, humans were told to be quiet. When it came time to share the profits from their work, humans got very little. When it came time to decide the future of the galaxy, humans were not allowed to vote. Lieutenant Webb leaned close to Sarah. "Ambassador," he whispered, "should we try again? Should we ask them to reconsider?" Sarah looked at the young man. She remembered when she had been like him, full of hope that one day the aliens would see humans as equals. That had been 20 years ago when she first became an ambassador. Now she knew better. "No, Marcus," she said quietly. "I think we have heard enough." Sarah stood up. This surprised the other humans in their group. Usually they stayed for the whole meeting. Usually they listened to every insult and every dismissal. With quiet dignity, the other human delegates looked at Sarah with confusion. But they trusted her. She had been their leader for many years. If she wanted to leave, they would follow. Sarah began putting her papers into her briefcase. The other humans did the same. They moved slowly and quietly. They did not make angry speeches. They did not shout or threaten. They just packed their things. Some of the aliens in the hall noticed the humans leaving. A few pointed with their claws or tentacles, but most ignored them. After all, humans were not important. They were just workers. If they wanted to leave early, who cared? High Chancellor Vexstar was still giving his speech. He was talking about how wise the council was, how they knew what was best for the galaxy. He did not notice the humans walking toward the exit. As the human group reached the doors of the Great Hall, Vexstar's voice followed them. Perhaps in another few centuries, when humanity has learned to control their primitive impulses, when they have gained wisdom through age, we might consider their request again. The doors closed behind the humans with a soft sound. They stood in the hallway outside the council chamber. For a moment no one spoke. Lieutenant Webb broke the silence. "What do we do now, Ambassador?" Sarah looked at her team. These were good people. They had spent years trying to make the aliens respect humanity. They had been patient. They had been polite. They had followed every rule and custom. And for what? To be told they were too young, too stupid, too violent to matter. "We go back to our ship," Sarah said. "And then we send a message to Earth." "What kind of message?" asked Dr. Kim Park, the chief science officer for the human delegation. Sarah's face was calm, but her eyes were hard. "We tell them that we are coming home, all of us." The humans walked through the corridors of the council station. Around them, aliens went about their business. None of them paid attention to the small group of humans. After all, humans were always coming and going. They were messengers and workers. They were not important enough to notice, but if the aliens had looked closely, they might have seen something different in the way the humans walked. There was no sadness in their steps. There was no anger either. There was something else. Something that might have worried the aliens if they had been smart enough to recognize it. There was determination. The human ship was small compared to the alien vessels in the station's docking bay. It was gray and practical. It had no decorations or fancy designs. It looked like what it was, a working ship built by a working people. As soon as they were aboard, Sarah went to the communication center. She sent a coded message to Earth. The message was short and simple. "Begin recall protocol. All personnel, all stations." Immediate. Lieutenant Webb watched her send the message. "Ambassador, what does this mean? Are we really leaving? All of U.S.?" Sarah turned to look at the young officer. "Marcus, how long have humans been members of the Galactic Council?" "We are not members," Webb said. "That is the whole problem." "Exactly," Sarah said. "We have never been members. We have been servants. We have been tools. The aliens use us when they need us and ignore us when they do not. They take our inventions and call them their own. They send us to die in their wars and give us no say in why those wars are fought." Sarah walked to the window that looked out at the alien ships. "For 300 years we have tried to earn their respect. We thought if we worked hard enough, if we were useful enough, if we saved enough alien lives, they would finally accept us as equals." She turned back to her team. "But they never will. To them, we will always be the young species. The primitive species. The species that is good enough to work for them, but not good enough to stand beside them." Dr. Park spoke up. "But if we leave, what happens to all the work we have done? The research projects? The mining operations? The defense stations?" Sarah smiled. It was not a happy smile. "That is their problem now. We built those things. We designed them. We know how they work. If the aliens want to keep using them, they will have to figure out how to do it without us." The ship began to move away from the council station. Through the windows, the humans could see the massive structure getting smaller. It was beautiful in its way. Thousands of different architectural styles from hundreds of species all combined into one huge building. It was meant to show the unity and diversity of galactic civilization, but the humans were not impressed anymore. They had seen what was behind the beautiful facade. They had experienced the arrogance and prejudice that the pretty building was meant to hide. As their ship entered hyperspace and began the long journey back to human space, Sarah made another call. This one went to every human facility in the galaxy. Every mining station, every research lab, every military base, every trading post. The message was the same everywhere. Pack up, shut down, come home. The aliens would soon learn what they had lost. But by then, it would be too late. The message spread through human space faster than any news had ever traveled before. It went to mining colonies on dead worlds where humans dug up rare metals. It reached research stations floating near dangerous stars where human scientists studied the universe. It found military bases on the edge of space where human soldiers fought against creatures from the dark. Everywhere the message went, humans began to pack. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in her laboratory on the Kepler deep space. Observatory. Around her, 20 years of work sat in neat piles. Charts showing how space could be bent and twisted. Computers full of equations that could change how ships traveled between stars. Models of new engines that could make any species the masters of the galaxy. "Doctor," said her assistant Tom Bradley, "the aliens will want us to leave all this behind. They will say it belongs to the Council because we built it on their station." Elena laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. "Tom, who do you think invented this technology? Who spent years figuring out how to make it work? Who stayed awake for days solving problems that the aliens said were impossible?" She pointed to the computers. "Every idea in these machines came from a human brain. Every breakthrough happened because humans refused to give up when things got hard. The aliens can have the building, but they cannot have our thoughts." Elena began typing commands into her computer. Lines of code appeared on the screen. She was putting locks on every file, every program, every piece of research. The aliens would need human passwords to open anything. Without those passwords, the computers would be nothing but expensive junk. "But what if they threaten us?" Tom asked. "What if they say we cannot leave unless we give them the codes?" Elena stopped typing and looked at her young assistant. "Tom, what are they going to do? Arrest us? Lock us up? Then who will run their mining operations? Who will fix their broken ships? Who will fight their wars?" She turned back to her computer. "For 300 years, the aliens have told us we are not smart enough to be their equals. Let them prove how smart they are by figuring this out without us." The same scene was happening all across the galaxy. On Proxima 7 chief engineer Jack Morrison was shutting down the massive mining machines that pulled platinum from the planet's core. The machines were incredibly complex. They had to work in temperatures that would melt most metals. They had to operate under pressure that would crush any alien species except humans. Jack had designed these machines himself. He knew every bolt, every wire, every computer chip. The aliens who owned the mining company had taken credit for his work. They had become rich from his inventions. But they had never bothered to learn how the machines actually worked. "Sir," said one of his workers, "what do we do about the maintenance manuals?" Jack smiled and picked up a thick book from his desk. It contained everything needed to keep the machines running. Without it, the mining operation would fail within a month. "We take it with us," Jack said. "After all, I wrote it. It is my work." He opened the book and showed the first page to his worker. At the top, in small letters, it said, "Copyright Jack Morrison, Human Engineer." The aliens had never noticed that line. They had assumed the book belonged to them just because the operation was on their planet. Jack put the book in his bag with all his other personal items. The aliens could keep the machines if they wanted, but without the manual, the machines would break down quickly. And without Jack and his team to fix them, they would stay broken on the far edge of the galaxy. Colonel Maria Santos was preparing to abandon Firebase Omega. The base protected 3-star systems from the Devourers, terrible creatures that came from the empty space between galaxies. The Devourers looked like shadows with teeth. They could eat energy, matter, even light itself. They were one of the few things in the galaxy that truly scared all the alien species. For 50 years, human soldiers had held Firebase Omega. They had died by the thousands to keep the Devourers from spreading into civilized space. The aliens praised them for their bravery. They called them heroes, but they never offered to help with the fighting. That was too dangerous for advanced species. "Colonel," said Sergeant Rodriguez, "the alien command wants to know our evacuation schedule. They want to send replacement troops." Maria looked at her sergeant with disbelief. "Replacement troops? What troops?" "The Zephyrians will not come here. They say it is too dangerous. The Altarians cannot survive the radiation. The Nebulans cannot exist in solid space long enough to fight." She pointed to the defense grid that surrounded the base. Hundreds of weapon platforms floated in space, all connected by quantum communication links. Rodriguez, who designed this defense system. "We did, ma'am, human engineers." "Who calibrated the weapons to work against Devourers?" Human scientist, ma'am.
Who?
Knows the attack patterns of the Devourers? Who has studied their weaknesses? Human soldiers, ma'am. Maria nodded. So what exactly are these replacement troops going to do? Stand around and look pretty while the Devourers eat them? She walked to her desk and picked up a datapad. It were the access codes for the entire defense grid. Without these codes, the weapons would not fire. The communication links would not work. The early warning systems would go silent. Pack everything, Maria told her sergeant. And I mean everything. Every manual, every code, every piece of tactical knowledge we have gained fighting these monsters. The aliens wanted us to do the dangerous work while they sat safely at home. Now they can see how well they do without us. Back in Council space, the aliens were beginning to notice the human departures. At first, they thought it was normal. Humans were always moving around, going from one job to another. They were workers, after all. Workers came and went, but then the reports started coming in. The mining operation on Proxima 7 had stopped completely. The research station at Kepler had gone dark. The defense platforms at Firebase Omega were not responding to commands. Trade Minister Silith of the Altarian Crystal Republic was the first to realize something was wrong. She was in her office, a beautiful chamber made of living crystal. That sang when she moved. The songs were usually peaceful and happy. Today they were harsh and worried. "Assistant," she called. Her voice made the crystals ring like alarm bells. "Contact the human mining supervisor on Vega Prime. I need production." Reports. Her assistant, a young Altarian whose crystals were still clear with youth, tried to make the call. After several minutes, he turned back to his superior. "Minister, there is no answer. The communication system says the mining station is ... empty." Silith's crystals turned dark blue with concern. "Empty? What do you mean empty?" "According to the sensors, there are no life signs at the facility. The humans appear to have left." Silith quickly ordered her assistant to check other human-operated facilities. One by one, the same report came back. Empty, abandoned, no humans anywhere. "This makes no sense," Silith said. Her crystals were now flashing rapid patterns of confusion and fear. Where did they go? Why did they leave? Her assistant brought up news reports from the council session 3 days earlier. The footage showed the human delegation walking out during High Chancellor Vextar's speech about why humans could not be council members. "Minister," the assistant said quietly, "I think they left because of what the Chancellor said." "I think all the humans are leaving." Silith watched the footage again. She saw Ambassador Chun's calm face as she packed her papers. She saw the other humans following their leader without argument or protest. They had not looked angry. They had not looked sad. They had looked ... determined to deter the first time in her long life. Silith felt a chill that had nothing to do with temperature. The humans were not just leaving their jobs. They were leaving the galaxy. And suddenly Silith realized how much the aliens had depended on them. The humans did not just work in the mines and laboratories and military bases. They maintained the technology. They solved the problems. They made the impossible possible. Without humans, would the galaxy still work? As if answering her question, alarms began to sound throughout the Crystal City. Power fluctuations were affecting the main computer systems. The backup generators were failing. The maintenance staff was calling for help, but the maintenance staff was human. And the humans were gone. 6 months had passed since the humans left. The Galactic Council building was no longer the proud center of civilization it had once been. Half the lights in the Great Hall were broken. The air recycling system made strange noises. Water leaked from pipes in the walls. The beautiful building was falling apart. High Chancellor Vextar stood in his private office. Looking out at the chaos in the docking bay below, ships floated without power. Others had crashed into the station walls because their navigation systems had failed. Repair crews worked frantically, but they moved slowly and made many mistakes. They did not understand the technology they were trying to fix. "Chancellor," said his aide, a nervous Zephyrion whose scales had turned pale with stress, "we have received more emergency reports. The mining colony on Kepler 442 has gone completely dark. The defense grid around Altair is not responding. 3 more transport ships have been lost in hyperspace. Vextar closed his eyes. Every day brought new disasters. Every day another piece of galactic civilization broke down. And every day it became more clear that the humans had been far more important than anyone had realized. What about our attempts? To contact Earth? Vextar asked. No response, sir. The humans will not answer our messages. They have closed their borders to all alien ships. We cannot even get close to their space. Vextar turned away from the window. His office, once a symbol of power and authority, now felt like a prison. Emergency reports covered his desk. Desperate messages from colony worlds filled his computer. The great Galactic Council was crumbling, and he did not know how to stop. In the council chamber, an emergency session was taking place. But the magnificent hall that once held 10,000 beings now had less than 1,000. Many species had stopped sending representatives. They were too busy trying to save their own worlds. Admiral Thizes of the Vegan Confederation spoke to the assembled aliens. The great reptilian warrior looked old and tired. His scales, once bright green, had faded to a sickly yellow. My fellow council members, Thizes said, his voice heavy with defeat. I must report that we have lost contact with our entire Outer Rim fleet. 47 ships, over 20,000 crew members. They attempted to perform routine maintenance on their hyperspace drives. Without human engineers to guide them, they made a critical error. The ships simply vanished. Shocked gasps echoed through the chamber. The crystal beings chimed sadly. The gas creatures pulsed with dark colors. Everyone knew what this meant. Without human knowledge, they could not even maintain their own technology. Trade Minister Silith stood to address the assembly. Her crystal body was dark blue with worry. The economic situation is getting worse every day. Our supply lines have collapsed. The shipping companies cannot navigate without human-designed computer systems. Food shortages are beginning on 17 worlds. She paused, her crystals flickering with shame. Yesterday, I tried to repair a simple cargo scanner in my office. It took me 6 hours to figure out what a human technician could have fixed in 6 minutes. And I still did it wrong. The machine exploded and nearly killed my assistant. More reports followed. The Nebulans could not maintain their atmospheric processors. The Altarians had lost control of their weather control systems. The tree-like. Verdans could not operate their biological computers without human bioengineers, but the worst news came from the frontier worlds. Captain Zekalon of the Outer Rim Defense Force stood on shaking legs. His insect-like appearance made it hard for other species to read his emotions, but his voice carried pure terror. Council members, he said, the Devourers have returned. Firebase Omega went silent 3 weeks ago. We sent a scout ship to investigate. They found nothing. The entire defense grid was offline. The weapon platforms were floating dead in space. The base itself was empty except for a single message left by the human commander. Zekalon activated a holographic display. The image showed the abandoned human base. In the command center, words had been painted on the wall in large, simple letters, good luck. You will need it. Colonel Santos, the scout ship, managed to escape before the Devourers found them, Zekalon continued. But our long-range sensors show the creatures spreading into civilized space. Without the human defense grid, nothing can stop them. Panic spread through the chamber. The Devourers were the stuff of nightmares. They consumed everything in their path, energy, matter, even light itself. Only the humans had been brave enough and skilled enough to fight them. Dr. Rilana of the Scientific Collective stood to speak. Her translucent body glowed with distress. I have been studying the human facilities they abandoned. The level of sophistication is incredible. Their mining equipment works on principles we do not understand. Their computer systems use programming languages we have never seen. Their weapons technology is decades ahead of our own. She looked around the chamber with her large, sad eyes. We thought the humans were primitive. We were wrong. They were not primitive. They were practical. While we focused on philosophy and art and politics, they focused on making things work. They became better at survival than any of us. Admiral Vyses slammed his massive fist on his speaking platform. Then we must force them to come back. We have military fleets. We can make them return to their duties. Dr. Rolana Glow became even dimmer. Admiral, with what fleets? Half your ships cannot leave port because their engines do not work. The other half are lost in space because their navigation systems have failed. And even if we could reach human space, what would we do? Fight the people who built our weapons? Attack the engineers who designed our ships? She gestured to the broken lights and leaking pipes around them. Look around you, Admiral. We cannot even maintain this building without humans. How could we fight a war against them? The chamber fell silent. The truth was too terrible to deny any longer. The aliens had built their civilization on human labor and human knowledge. Without humans, they were helpless. High Chancellor Vexstar entered the chamber. He moved slowly, like an old being carrying a heavy burden. When he reached his speaking platform, he looked out at the assembled aliens with defeat in his eyes. Council members, he said, I have just received a communication from Earth, not from their government, not from their military, from Ambassador Chun herself. He activated the holographic display. Sarah Chun appeared, standing in what looked like a beautiful office on Mars. Behind her, through a large window, alien refugees could be seen working alongside humans in what appeared to be a thriving city. Citizens of the former Galactic Council, Chun said, her voice calm and professional. We have received your requests for assistance. We have heard your offers of partnership. We have read your demands that we return to our previous positions. She paused, looking directly into the camera. The answer is no. Angry sounds erupted from the aliens in the chamber, but Chun continued speaking. For 300 years, humanity served the Galactic Council faithfully. We built your machines, fought your wars, solved your problems, and saved your lives. In return, you told us we were too young, too primitive, too violent to be your equals. The image showed Chun walking to her window. Outside, the city buzzed with activity. Humans and aliens worked together as equals, building something new. You have made your judgment clear, Chun said. We accept it. We will no longer seek your approval or your recognition. We will no longer serve your interests or fight your battles. We have found our own path among the stars. She turned back to face the camera. Any species that wishes to join us as equal partners will be welcomed. Any being that comes to us seeking refuge will be protected. But we will not return to serve masters who cannot see our worth, the message ended. The chamber erupted in chaos. Some aliens demanded that armies be sent to force the humans back. Others argued that they should beg for forgiveness. Many simply sat in stunned silence. But outside the council building, the galaxy continued to crumble. Ships crashed, colonies went dark, and in the outer rim, the Devourers spread like a plague across the stars. The age of the Galactic Council was ending, and the humans who had once begged for membership were building something better in its place. The emergency message arrived at the Galactic Council at 3 a.m, station time. What was left of the night shift scrambled to wake High Chancellor Vexstar. The massive Zephyrian stumbled from his sleeping chamber, still groggy and confused. What is it now? He growled at his aide. Another mining accident? More ships lost in hyperspace? No, sir, the aide said, his scales pale with fear. It is much worse. The Devourers have reached the Altair system. They are attacking the crystal cities. Vexstar's blood went cold. Altair was not some distant frontier world. It was one of the core systems of galactic civilization, home to 50 billion crystal beings. If the Devourers had reached Altair, they had broken through every defense line. In the communication center, desperate voices filled the speakers. The musical language of the Altarians, usually so beautiful, now sounded like screams of terror. Council. Station, this is Altair Prime, came the voice of Crystal Lord Himara. The shadow creatures are everywhere. They are eating our cities. They consume light itself. Our weapons do nothing to them. Please, you must send help immediately. Vexstar grabbed the communication device. Altair Prime, this is the Council. We are sending all available military units to assist you. There was a long pause. Then Himara's voice came back, filled with despair. What military units? Chancellor, we have been trying to contact the defense fleets for 6 hours. Most do not respond. The ones that do say their ships cannot move. Their engines are broken. Their weapons do not work. The truth hit Vexstar like a physical blow. There were no military units to send. The great fleets of the Galactic Council were nothing but floating scrap metal without human engineers to maintain them. We will find someone, Vexstar said weakly. We will send civilian ships, volunteers. With what ships? Himara asked. Chancellor, nothing works anymore. Since the humans left, we can barely keep the lights on in our own cities. How? Can you send help when you cannot even help yourselves? The communication went silent. The Altair system was on its own. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. The Vegan Confederation had lost contact with 12 colony worlds. The Nebulan Republic could not maintain their gas processing stations. The Verdant Empire watched helplessly as their bioships died without human medics to care for them. But the worst news came from the frontier. Captain Zekalon arrived at the Council Station in a damaged scout ship. He was the only survivor of his crew. His insect body was covered in burn marks and his left arm was gone. The outer rim is lost. He reported to the emergency assembly. 17 star systems have gone dark. The Devourers are spreading faster than we can track them. Every world they touch becomes ... empty. Not destroyed, empty, as if nothing had ever lived there at all. Trade Minister Silith's crystal body had turned almost black with despair. Captain, what about evacuation? Can we save the civilian populations? Zekalon made a sound that might have been laughter if it had not been so bitter. Minister, most of our transport ships cannot even leave their home ports. The ones that can fly get lost in hyperspace because their navigation computers do not work. We sent a rescue fleet to save the colonies in the Proxima sector. They never arrived. We think they ended up in a different galaxy entirely. Dr. Rolana of the Scientific Collective floated forward. Her translucent body was dim with exhaustion. I have been studying the abandoned human facilities, trying to understand their technology. The complexity is beyond anything we imagined. Their computers use quantum processing methods we have never seen. Their engines bend space in ways our physics cannot explain. She paused, her large eyes filled with shame. We called them primitive. But they were building technology that we are not smart enough to understand, let alone operate. Admiral Vises, what was left of him, spoke from his medical hoverchair. The great reptilian warrior had been injured trying to manually repair ship engine. Half his body was covered in bandages. The humans offered us partnership for 300 years, he said, his voice weak but clear. We could have learned from them. We could have worked together. Instead, we treated them like servants. We stole their ideas and called them our own. We used their blood to protect our worlds while telling them they were not worthy to sit with. U.S.? He looked around the nearly empty chamber. And now we are paying the price for our arrogance. But even as the Council struggled with their failures, desperate measures were being discussed. A small group of aliens had formed what they called the Human Recovery Task Force. They were planning to find Earth and force the humans to return. The task force was led by War Commander Bractos of the Titan Hegemony. The massive rock-like being stood 12 feet tall and weighed several tons. He was one of the few alien military leaders whose ships still functioned, mainly because they were built simple and tough. Fellow warriors, Bractos said to his assembled forces, the humans have abandoned their duty. They have left us to die while they hide in their corner of space. This cannot be allowed. His aide, a smaller Titan warrior, asked, Commander, what if they refuse to come back? What if they fight us? Bractos laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. Fight us? With what? They are scientists and miners and technicians. We are warriors. Our ships may not be as advanced as theirs, but they are strong. We will take what we need and bring the humans back to serve the galaxy as they should. The task force consisted of 20 heavy battle cruisers. They were old ships, built before humans became involved in galactic technology. They were slower than modern vessels and less efficient, but they worked. Most importantly, Bractos and his crew understood how to operate them without human help. The fleet departed for Earth with great fanfare. Many aliens saw it as their last hope. If Bractos could force the humans to return, maybe galactic civilization could be saved. But as the fleet traveled toward human space, they discovered something that should have warned them. Every human facility they passed was not just abandoned. It was completely stripped. Every useful piece of equipment was gone. Every computer was wiped clean. Every machine was either removed or sabotaged beyond repair. The humans had not just left. They had made sure nothing valuable was left behind. When Bractos finally reached the edge of human space, he found something he did not expect. A single human ship waited for him. It was sleek and advanced, unlike anything he had seen before. The message it transmitted was simple and polite. "Greetings, Commander Bractos. I am Captain Rodriguez of the Earth Defense Force. You are entering human territory without permission. Please state your business." Bractos was confused. His intelligence report said the humans had no military ships. They were supposed to be defenseless. "Human vessel," he replied. "I am War Commander Bractos. I demand that your people return to their duties in Council space immediately. If you refuse, I will take you by force." There was a pause. Then Captain Rodriguez's voice came back, and it sounded almost amused. "Commander, you are welcome to try. But first, you should know that you are currently surrounded by 47 cloaked ships. Your weapons are being jammed by technology you do not understand, and your engines have been remotely disabled." Bractos looked at his control panels. In shock, every system was showing red warning lights. His mighty battle fleet was floating helplessly in space. "How?" he whispered. "Commander," Rodriguez said gently, "you spent 300 years using our people as your engineers and technicians. Did you really think we were not learning from your technology? Did you believe we were not improving it?" The human captain's voice became more serious. "You may turn around and leave human space now. Any alien who comes in peace will be welcomed. But any being who comes with threats will be sent home with a lesson in humility." Bractos had no choice. His great fleet limped back toward Council space, their engines barely functioning, their weapons useless. The humans had not destroyed them. They had simply demonstrated how completely outmatched the aliens were. Word of Bractos' failure spread quickly through what remained of the Galactic Council. The humans were not hiding in fear. They were not defenseless refugees. They had become something new and powerful while the aliens crumbled dot, and in the darkness between the stars, the Devourers continued their advance toward the heart of galactic civilization. 2 years had passed since the humans left the Galactic Council. The great building that had once been the center of civilization was now dark and empty. Most of the alien species had stopped sending representatives. They were too busy trying to survive in their own territories. High Chancellor Vexstar sat alone in his office. The lights flickered constantly because no one knew how to fix the power system. His desk was covered with surrender documents. One by one, the member worlds of the Council were giving up. They could not fight the Devourers. They could not maintain their technology. They could not even feed their own people. The latest document was from his own people, the Zephyrian Empire. They were officially dissolving their government and requesting protection from the Human Colonial Alliance. It was the final humiliation. The species that had declared humans too primitive to join the Council was now begging those same humans for help. "Sir," said his aide, one of the few staff members still working in the building, "there is a message for you. It is from Earth." Vexstar looked up with tired eyes. "What do they want? Have they come to mock us in our defeat?" "No, sir. They are offering to take you to Mars. Ambassador Chun wants to speak with you in person." Vexstar almost laughed. The humans who had once begged for his attention now summoned him like a servant. But what choice did he have? His empire was gone. His civilization was collapsing. He had nothing left but his pride, and pride would not save anyone now. The human ship that came for him was unlike anything he had ever seen. It moved through space like a living thing, smooth and silent. The technology was so advanced that his sensors could not even tell how it worked. Inside, the ship was clean and bright. Human crew members treated him with polite respect, but he could see the pity in their eyes. Mars had changed since Vexstar last saw it. Where once there had been simple human colonies, now there was a gleaming city that stretched across half the planet. Ships from dozens of species came and went from the spaceports. But these were not the grand vessels of the old council. These were refugee ships, cargo haulers, and research vessels. People working together instead of ruling over each other. Ambassador Chun met him at the spaceport. She looked older than when he had last seen her, but there was a strength in her eyes that had not been there before. She was no longer asking for permission to be important. She simply was important. Chancellor Vexstar, she said with a polite nod, thank you for coming. They walked through the city together. Vexstar was amazed by what he saw. Altarian crystal beings worked alongside human engineers, building new types of computers. Nebulan gas creatures floated in special chambers while human scientists helped them develop new forms of communication. Verdant tree people grew in human gardens, their roots connected to biological computers that processed information faster than any machine. This is not what I expected, Vexstar said quietly. What did you expect? Tron asked. I thought you would be angry. I thought you would want revenge for how we treated you. Chun stopped walking and looked at the tall alien. Chancellor, anger is a waste of energy. Revenge serves no purpose. We have more important things to do. She pointed to a group of young beings learning together in a school. Humans, aliens, and creatures that Vexstar did not even recognize were sitting side by side sharing knowledge and ideas. These children do not care what species someone belongs to, Chun said. They care about what they can learn from each other. They are building something better than what came before. They continued walking until they reached Chun's office. Through the large windows, Vexstar could see human warships patrolling the edges of the solar system. But mixed among them were ships from other species, all working together to protect the growing alliance. The reports say you have been taking in refugees, Vexstar said. Yes, anyone who comes in peace is welcome here. We do not care if they are from the old council or from species we have never met before. If they want to contribute to building something better, they have a home with us. Chun sat down at her desk and looked at the former chancellor. But you did not come here to discuss refugees. What do you want, Vexstar? The great Zephyrian leader, who had once commanded respect from 1,000 species, felt small and defeated. My people are dying. The Devourers have taken half our territory. Our ships do not work. Our cities are falling apart. We need help. And what are you offering? In return? Vexstar was confused. Offering? We have nothing left to offer. We are asking for mercy. Chun leaned back in her chair. Chancellor, we do not operate on mercy. We operate on mutual benefit. If you want our help, you need to contribute something valuable. But we have lost everything. Our technology is broken, our fleets are destroyed, our colonies are empty. You still have your people, Chun said. You have their knowledge, their skills, their willingness to work. The question is whether you are willing to be partners instead of rulers. She activated a holographic display that showed the current state of the galaxy. Large sections were dark where the Devourers had consumed everything. Other areas showed scattered refugee fleets fleeing toward human space. The old galaxy is gone, Chun said. The Galactic Council is finished. But we are building something new. An alliance where species work together as equals. Where decisions are made based on ability and contribution, not on how long someone has been in space. Vexstar stared at the map. And if we join this alliance, what happens to our independence? Our sovereignty? You keep both, Chun said. We do not conquer, we do not rule, we protect, and we cooperate. Each member species governs itself, but they all contribute to the common defense and the common good. She pointed to different areas of the map. The Altarians who joined us are rebuilding their crystal cities, but now they share their architectural knowledge with others. The Nebulans are teaching us about gas-based life forms while learning how to exist in solid environments. Everyone gives and everyone receives. But what about the Devourers? Vexstar asked. How do you fight them? Chun smiled for the first time since he had arrived. We do not fight them the way the old council did. We studied them, we learned about them, and we found their weakness. She activated another display that showed human ships engaging Devourer forces. But instead of the desperate battles that had defined previous encounters, these ships moved with precision and purpose. They were not just fighting the creatures. They were hurting them. The Devourers are not evil, Chun explained. They are hungry. They come from a part of space where there is no energy, no matter to consume. So they spread into our galaxy looking for food. The display showed human scientists working with Devourer specimens. We learned how to communicate with them. We made a deal. We guide them to dead systems, places where there is matter and energy, but no life. They get the food they need, and we get peace. Vexstar could not believe what he was seeing. You negotiated with the Devourers, the creatures that terrified the entire galaxy? We tried to understand them instead of just fearing them, Chun said. It turns out that most problems can be solved if you approach them with wisdom instead of arrogance. The lesson was clear. The aliens had spent centuries trying to fight or control everything they encountered. The humans had chosen to understand and cooperate. Chancellor, Chun said, I will make you the same offer I have made to every refugee who has come to us. You can join our alliance as equal partners. Your people will be protected and given new homes. In return, you will contribute your knowledge and labor to building a better galaxy. She stood up and extended her hand. Or you can leave and try. To survive on your own, the choice is yours. Vexstar looked at the offered hand. 3 years ago, he would have been insulted by the suggestion that he should serve under humans. Now he understood that she was not asking him to serve. She was asking him to participate. He reached out and shook her hand. Where do we begin? He asked. Chun smiled. We begin by learning from each other. The old galaxy was built on the idea that some species were better than others. The new galaxy will be built on the idea that everyone has something valuable to contribute. Outside the window, the stars shone with new hope. The galaxy was being reborn, not through conquest or control, but through cooperation and mutual respect. And at the center of it all were the humans who had once been called too primitive to matter. They had walked away from a galaxy that would not accept them as equals. And in doing so, they had built something better than what they left behind.